Oh, man. You know how we usually have what they call a cold opener? Well, today I have the cold for the cold opener. So I just got to apologize. I know I look terrible. Our producer Muku just told me I look terrible. Can you believe that? I've got my tissues ready. I've got my water ready. But because I'm a trooper, I'm going to crack on.
And this episode brought to you by Kleenex, as Mel very happily displayed the brand. So you
I
know what
know.
brand of tissues to use. And Mel, you don't look terrible, you do sound terrible.
Thanks. I'll do my best. I'll try to sound perky. So let's get on with the show. Roll the bumper. Hello and welcome to the good, the bad, the ridiculous. I'm perky Melinda Farrell, who's not at all sick with a cold, and this is Bharat Sundaresan. So like I said, apologies again. I'm trying to troop on, and it's really nothing compared to what lots of people are going through. I'm just a little bit under the weather. Well, what a crazy few days it has been, Bharat. Absolutely crazy. I hope you're all doing well out there. Someone's saying sound. I hope there's not a sound issue. You can hear me?
I can hear you loud and not so crisply clear. Yeah.
Yes. Well, hopefully everyone at home can. If I sound bad, it's actually not because of the sound. It is just because I'm sick. Good, bad, ridiculous time. Let's get on with some nominations. Funnily enough, we had more nominations about David Warner's dropping from the captaincy and the playing 11 than we have had, I think, for anything else in the history of this show. So we're going to go through a couple of them because everyone makes different points and they've got different kind of opinions on that. So first up, if we can bring up the first graphic, here we go. I'm about to cough. Oh God, I'm sorry. Not playing Warner. This is from Bunny Hyderabad.
Has to be some.
Bunny Hyderabad. Not playing Warner is as bad as not playing MS Dhoni for CSK or not playing Virat Kohli for RCB. He is the heart and soul of SRH. First of all, that is obviously a huge thing. Just because he has been seen as the heart and soul of the club. A lot of people have made that comment. He's so strongly associated with that club. He's taken them to some great success. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
I think I'll do most of the talking now. Don't worry, I can do that. But I think he is the heart and soul of Sunrisers, and I have to agree with Bunny from Hyderabad, because you just have to go and check out David Warner's Instagram page daily almost. It has something to do with Hyderabad for large periods of 2020 when the world was in lockdown. He was posting these dance videos from Telugu movies. I remember seeing him at the SCG. I'm sure I've spoken about this before on our show. During one of the one days before he got injured, there were a bunch of fans from originally from Hyderabad or from that part of India, and they seemed to be singing some song that he knew, and he had the perfect steps for that, and they responded to him as well. And I remember him at the MCG Nets, towards the end. I think we were about to leave, and he, of course, did not acknowledge us. But there were three guys who said something to him about some movie or something in particular, and he actually waved back at them, or they had like a coded signal between them. So he has really embraced Hyderabad as a team or as a city. I think maybe Harsha Bogle is the only one who cares more about Hyderabad than David Warner currently in cricket anyway. So it was a shocking move, and it is very much like leaving out MS Dhoni from CSK or Kohli from Bangalore, because we've seen a lot of foreign cricketers come and play for one franchise for a long time. Faf du Plessis, we said, has spent 10 years now with Chennai Super Kings, or in 2 years in between when they were banned, of course. But nobody's really embraced a team quite like David Warner. Even Shane Warne in Rajasthan isn't as strong as David Warner at Sunrise. So to see him being not just taken away from captaincy, but then to be left out and publicly so, like for them to send a press release saying that we're going to leave him out was rather strange.
Yeah, it was. Well, let's bring in some others because we've got a few different opinions and aspects to this. So next nomination we have that refers to this, saying totally mad cow, saying it's good. Williamson will get more out of the players who haven't been performing well so far. It's a long-term decision, though. I think you probably have to separate two things here. You have to separate David Warner not having the captaincy and giving that to Kane Williamson, but then also dropping him from the playing 11. So this is more to do with the captaincy. It sort of reminds me of one of those, when a team is going badly, and I can see one of the comments there from Sahil saying Warner has been made a scapegoat. Where do we look for the solution to this problem? And it's often easier to go for the coach or the captain. Is that going to fix it? I don't know. So on the captaincy thing, where you see that, and you're right, the long-term decision, I've seen a few players commenting saying that it might be the last we see of Dave Warner in a Hyderabad shirt altogether. Take it away. I can't speak anymore.
We need that cough button for our show as
Sorry?
well. A lot of podcasts. And Sahil, I'm with Sahil. Get well soon, Melinda. Firstly, I have to say, someone with the hashtag totally mad cow. I don't know. It doesn't go with someone as a supporter of Kane Williamson, right? There's nothing totally mad or about Kane Williamson. He's so I don't know. I just don't see the connection there. But I totally agree with the nomination. I think we've lost Melinda, so it's just me.
I'm still here. I just don't want to cough on camera so badly. Keep going.
All right. So the Zoom's on. Okay, I was on focus all of a sudden. And the thing with David Warner and SRH, it's like the IPL behaving like an EPL club, or the SRH doing that. Because you've seen that so many times in European football, where if a team has 5 or 6 games, you just get rid of the manager. And for a team in the IPL to do that, maybe it's a sign of things to come. Who knows? And it's not like he's not performed individually. I mean, he made a 50 just in his last game. Yeah, it was. We spoke about it. He was very frustrated with the way
50. Yeah,
it was a slow 50. He was very frustrated with himself. But I saw some of the game yesterday and some of the action. And David Warner was on camera as much as maybe more than he has been while he was playing. He was bringing out drinks. He was in the dugout. At one point, I even remember going and fetching a ball, with the thing on, while Rajasthan were batting.
Yeah, and cleaning up the bottles at the end. An interesting point there again by Sahil saying, why would you play Nabi as an all-rounder when you are giving him just one over to bowl? Because that's the point that's been made, isn't it? Is for team balance. And obviously the overseas players situation, and they have Johnny Bairstow there as well, who they're obviously going to play. And they've got Rashid Khan. How do they sort of make that work in having those different players there when Warner is scoring slowly? And we've spoken about how easy Kane Williamson is making it look. So very, very, very hard there. Oh, by the way, Rajesh Mohan saying nice pink flowers. Yes, you can see that. Can I just point out my mum went and bought those the other day specifically for this show, and she's now in hospital, but she'll be very, very happy to know that someone has noticed that that nice little pot plant that she went and bought just for you guys. Next nomination, let's bring that in. From Mike 360. All a bit strange from leaving Kane out altogether at the start, madness, to him being skipper. Don't agree with the captaincy move, best captain, best international side. Ditching Warner totally is odd. And you're right, I guess the whole thing about Williamson being out and then coming in, you come down to the limitation inside in those foreign players. But the question, it does become, it'll look really strange if they do go for Nabi. And if he does only bowl one over, what are you trying to get out of him?
And it's something that Kane Williamson has to really get on board with soon. He did captain the side during the 1 year when Warner was away. I mean, when Warner was still serving the ban, if I'm not mistaken. And I think he shared the captaincy. So it's suddenly like, overnight when you have when you're pushed into captaining a side which is not doing so well, and they're not doing so well not just because of the captain or the coach, because a lot of their players aren't performing at the peak of their powers, and we saw that last night as well in their game against Rajasthan. So it cannot be easy for Kane Williamson, and to trust Nabi with over deep in the innings. Like he did, Nabi has a lot of T20 experience, more T20 experience than maybe even Kane Williamson and David Warner do. Rashid Khan and Nabi play a lot around the world. So I think it's just, when you're bowling to someone like Joss Butler, when he's in the form that he is, I don't think you can judge a captaincy move or a bowler based on just 1 over.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so our next, we're getting lots of comments coming in on this, of course, but our next nomination, again, a bit different. Do you guys, this is from Venkat, do you guys think there is a rift between David Warner and Tom Mooney based on the way he was removed from captaincy? Also, how does this decision solve Sunrisers' middle order problem, which is a great point? I don't think there's a rift between those two. I mean, we don't know all the ins and outs of it, but it does reek of being a higher up decision. We don't know how high it goes up, but it's hard to think that such a huge decision would be made without the owner's approval or input. So I can't imagine there actually being a rift there. He's obviously said he was incredibly disappointed. I imagine he's probably devastated. But it is hard. We've spoken about this all through this tournament. The problem with the middle order, even though he has gone a bit slow at the top, he's still scored consistently. And how does it really help them shore up the middle order, which is where their problem has been?
Yeah, and it's an interesting thing that you touched on as well, Mel, about how much influence owners have on decisions of this nature. Because unlike, say, other sporting leagues around the world, the manager or the team director isn't given a completely free hand to take these kind of calls. It has a lot to do with there's some sort of teamwork you'd imagine between the team owners and the directors of each team, like Tom Moody, or the head coach like Trevor Bayliss in this case. So there were some reports. I think a lot of Venkat's skepticism about whether it's just a straight cricketing move or maybe there is some conspiracy behind the scenes comes from the fact that there was there were some reports about whether David Warner was dropped or his captaincy was stripped of him just because he made comments about not happy. Manish Pandey not being picked and him not being happy with the selectors in this case. So you'd imagine him being part of that selection panel as captain. But, if every franchisee in the IPL works differently in terms of how much influence or the owners have on these kind of decisions. But I don't think it's just come down to Tom Moody and David Warner just arguing about which football team they support back home. They don't even follow codes.
No, they don't. So next nomination that we might bring up now, DJ reads to bad Vijay. Speaking of middle order, bad Vijay Shankar, ridiculous. He was India's number 4 in the World Cup. Yeah, 8 from 8, wasn't he, in the most recent game? So that goes to that point about the middle order, doesn't it? And they've used quite a few players as well, Sunrise. It's not that they've had a consistent 11. It just it feels like that the problem perhaps stems from the auction. The decision was made, that the way that the team was put together, and there just hasn't been any consistency there. And then I don't think this is necessarily going to fix things, although what will happen if they actually do start to win some games now, Trevor Bayliss has said that David Warner could be spending a long time on the bench, and it may be really difficult, if not impossible, for him to get back into the side if they actually get on a winning run.
Yeah. I mean, the middle order, we saw Manish Pandey opening yesterday, and he's batted already in the middle, like at number 5 and number 6 or number 4. He was number 3, and he scored some runs in the previous game. He was opening, and I heard on commentary he had never opened in any T20 game or for a long time or ever. I'm not sure. So yeah, now you pushed a middle order batsman to open alongside Johnny Bairstow. And he is a veteran in the IPL, is Manish Pandey. And you're right, it goes back to the auction where the only person they really bought of note was Kedar Jadhav. And a lot of eyebrows were raised, whereas other teams were really spending a lot of money. And it's not really about the money, but which meant that there were a lot of guys they could have picked, Indian guys, maybe one overseas guy as well. But they stuck with what they have, and it's showing. I mean, they have invested a lot in someone like Abdul Samad, who's known to be a big hitter. Maybe he'll come good. Maybe they should, like, now that they're at the bottom of the table anyway, send him up the order, see if he can do something. But about Vijay Shankar, it's funny, when I saw him walk out to bat yesterday, the first thought that came to my mind was exactly the one that DJ Reeds put out. Wow, he was the number 4. He was the 3D player that was picked for the World Cup squad, and Ambati Rayudu was not happy about that at all. And you feel bad for someone like Vijay Shankar. I mean, when you are chasing well over 200, your team is in sort of a disarray, new captain. He's sort of the senior guy in that middle order. There's just a lot of pressure, and yeah, things haven't really gone his way this season, but hopefully they will. But it is kind of ridiculous to think that just under 2 years ago, he was India's number 4 in their World Cup.
Yeah, just something that I keep thinking too, just before we move on from David Warner. I keep thinking about when his brother tweeted a few years ago that he'd been made the scapegoat. That might have been over Sandpapergate, that he was the scapegoat. So maybe this time he really is the scapegoat. And so anyway, we will move on to our next nomination, which is from Harsha Reviewer. Players like Butler, Pollard, Bairstow, and Russell are T20 mafia, ridiculous players. Yeah, didn't we speak about when we were talking about Shimon Hetmeyer last week, that there comes a time when the West Indies players come to the fore in this competition, but then also definitely the English players as well. I mean, that 124 of 64 by Butler was absolutely stonking, as they would say in England. But 4 of them at the moment, and that Pollard's innings the other day was ridiculous. 87 off 34 against CSK, ending a 5-match winning streak as well. Superb.
Yeah, I told you, West Indians do tend to not just come to the fore, but begin to take over around this time of the tournament. I'll speak loudly to cover up for that.
All right.
No, and Kyron Pollard he's a legend of the T20 game. He might never play Test cricket. I mean, he is captaining West Indies in the white ball stuff now, but he is a legend. I mean, he knows T20 cricket and how to win games from different situations better than anyone. I think better than even a Chris Gale does, and that's what he's done for years and years, not just in India, but back in the Caribbean and around the world, wherever he's been picked. And he just showed you that the other night. And it brought back so many memories of covering IPL cricket from the Wankhede Stadium, where there would be those 2 or 3 matches every season, Mel. When Mumbai Indians would be down and out, there'd be like a couple of hardcore Mumbai supporters in the press box, and they'd still have that final hope on Pollard. And I would hope that it's not that kind of day, so that I can finish my report early and, get home. But then Pollard would ruin our night in a way, he would play one of those blinders like he did the other day. And he just keeps it very simple. We spoke about Shimron Hetmeyer and where the areas of the ground he hits. Pollard hits a lot of straight sixes, and he's a very difficult batsman to bowl to. And he's in that form, much like Josh Butler. Josh Butler, the opener, was created in the IPL. I was correct. I said it started at Rajasthan, but someone corrected me on our show, our wonderfully enlightened audience, that he started doing that for Mumbai. He's just a sensational player. We had a nomination last week about why him and Bhuvaneshwar Kumar are not at their best. There you go. Josh Butler just needs one innings to remind you of why he is one of the best, if not the best.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't help but agree with you there. Okay, so moving on, do we have any more nominations?
I like the one from Gautam Ray.
About Pollard always bowls himself a lot when he captains in the CPL.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. And I think the one for front foot.
Oh, ridiculous. Bolton Ray, ridiculous. Way too many front foot no balls when the pressure is on the bowler during close death over battles. Makes you think it was always the case. Umpires just missed it due to death over pressure. Well, it's not just in T20 cricket. I mean, think of how many no balls we saw during the Test series. And I'm not going to make the noise. It's okay. Don't get scared. Yeah, especially with a cold, that would be really bad. Just in general, I mean, I think it's just highlighted it in a huge way. And I don't think there are necessarily any more being bowled. I just think they've been bowling them for an awful long time, and they've never been picked up really until now. And it's going to be interesting just to see how teams respond to that and how disciplined they are, say, in the nets when they're bowling in the nets.
Very much so. And, these days in T20 cricket, bowlers and batsmen practice for everything, every scenario. So maybe, but that's the difference between a net and a match situation, right? Even if you practice death bowling in the nets, the pressure cannot be recreated. It's just impossible. Similarly for an umpire as well, death overs of a T20 game, there's so much focus at what's happening at the other end. At times, though your job is to, or has historically been to look down for, not look down, just get your eyes down and then look there, you could end up missing something like that. And the reason why there are front foot no balls is bowlers are stressing. I mean, they are trying to get everything right. And, at times you can overstretch a little. Maybe you're not focusing on your rhythm as much as you would otherwise. So I think it's just one of those things. But I think now with the hooter, we'll just see more and more no balls being picked up just generally across cricket.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Bharat, drum roll. You might have some other ones that come up. What was your goodest thing over the past few days?
Now, for me, when the West Indians start doing well, my smile gets bigger, as you know, Mel. So I'm just the goodest thing was Pollard showing us why he is Pollard, why Mumbai Indians have stuck with him from the very start. We spoke a lot about Warner and SRH kind of being made for each other. Pollard and Mumbai are maybe, if anything, a stronger connection. You had a couple of Mumbai Indians cricketers now speaking in a Trini accent thanks to good old Karan. So now for me, that innings and Mumbai Indians kind of showing that, they're happier being in Delhi A, and also showing that, they're back. I mean, they are the indomitable side was the goodest thing.
Yeah, okay, that's good. And what was your baddest thing for the past few days?
I think we agreed upon this before we pressed record. I think it is, and you are more of an expert on this than I am, about this whole decision to not allow Australians coming back from the IPL for now. I mean, they made it a crime of sorts, haven't they? The Australian government. We generally don't bring politics into the show, and we are not bringing politics here at all. All we're saying is, there is a possibility. As of now, it's only the suspension of flights is only till May 15th, but there are a lot of Australians still there in the IPL in various capacities. You just hope that they don't get stranded in a way. So, but a lot of anxiety, I'm sure, in their midst.
Yeah, it goes beyond that too, and it does make me very cranky. In case people don't know the story, basically, if you're an Australian, so that includes a lot of people who perhaps have emigrated to Australia from India or who have family back in India and have been trying to get home for the past year, or they may have been to funerals or something and got permission to go. I think there are 9,000 currently in India, and they've, funnily enough, after Adam Zampa and Kane Richardson were able to come home, coincidentally perhaps, they've basically closed the loophole, made it a criminal. It's a criminal offence to enter Australia if you've been in India in the previous 14 days, with penalties of up to 5 years in jail and a fine of up to $66,000. So that is extreme. It's never happened in the history of Australia that if you have an Australian passport, it's illegal to come into Australia. So hopefully that is reversed very, very quickly, because for all, not just cricketers who are there by any means, but for all Australians who are in India who would want to come back and quarantine in Australia, I think that's That's pretty shocking. And the ridiculousest thing for the part that's caught your eye recently.
I mean, we spoke a lot on the show about the ridiculously bad thing, maybe David Warner and SRH, but for me, the most ridiculously good thing, and my pick this week is Harpreet Singh Brar. I mean, like, young spinner. I was reading a story in the Indian Express, who I used to work for, like a beautiful story about this young kid who, from a smallish town, had to travel a lot back and forth, had to wake up at 4 a.m. and catch a train. Stories you kind of have heard before about Indian cricketers, but it's a lovely story, and how he's cried through the night when India lost the 2003 World Cup final. And his mother apparently said, okay, that night I realized my son is going to play cricket. Not just at the highest level, maybe even for India. I mean, a mother always knows, as you know, Mel. And for him to get Kohli and De Villiers and Maxwell in one spell, really, what better start could he have made to his IPL career? In a way, he scored some runs as well. And we've seen in the past, Jasprit Bumrah, when he was a nobody of sorts, gets Kohli out. Amitabh Bachchan tweets about him, and look where Jasprit Bumrah is now. Krunal Pandya, I remember covering the game at Wankhede, got Kohli and AB de Villiers out in 2 consecutive overs. And not long after he was playing for India, he'd become a big name. So all the best of luck to Harpreet Singh Brar. He's couldn't have gotten it right. He added Maxwell as well to the bag.
It just goes to show that all wickets are not equal in the game of cricket, we have to say. Thank you so much to everyone who's been on the show today, and for everyone who's sent in nominations. Don't forget, you can send them to us at any time. We go through and we check that hashtag. So just include the hashtag. Thank you so much to Bharat to you for carrying the can today. And I hope to be much better very soon. So take care, stay safe, do all the right things. Please look after yourselves out there. We are thinking of you, and we will see you very, very soon for Over and Out. So don't forget to tune in for that, brought to you by Skrill. So we look forward to seeing you later on in the week. I'm going to have a lie down.
Please.